All right, welcome everybody. Today we're going to be talking about Foresight's programs. That's what you all signed up for. If anybody's in the wrong place, feel free to let us know what you thought we were going to be doing today. A couple housekeeping items. One, this event will be recorded for posterity's sake. We might want to let some people who weren't able to attend it live hear all the things that we've got going on. Two, this is for your benefit. So if you have any questions throughout, please do feel free to jump in the chat. I will try to address those. I'm not so good at speaking and reading at the same time, so giving me a few seconds with those. You can also unmute yourself and jump in and ask them. It's a fairly small group here today, relatively intimate crowd, so don't be shy about unmuting yourself. And with that, I think if you're not going to speak, though, if you could keep yourself on mute just to keep down the background distractions, that would be greatly appreciated. I'm going to talk a little bit about Foresight. That's going to be the introduction. We're going to talk to a founder who has actually been through Foresight's program. So that's the New Life case study. Then we're going to dive into all of the programs that Foresight offers, followed by details on each one of them. What are some next steps you can take should any of that interest you? And finally, hopefully have a good amount of time for any questions. Again, happy to field those questions in real time as we go through the content. What is Foresight? Foresight is Canada's Cleantech Accelerator. We are coast to coast. We support innovators, industry, investors, governments, and academia to come together to grow the clean tech ecosystem. How do we do this? We break down silos. We run events. We bring people together. We get all of those 5 groups talking to each other so that they can know what the different needs and pains are. Policy and regulation, we can put investment where it's needed, and we can get the great technological solutions that you're working on into the field. We help scale technology. This is the acceleration piece that I, as VP of Acceleration, am responsible for. We give you the tools, the supports, the access to the market that you need to move your company along. Finally, we accelerate adoption. This is us working with industry, right? Opening them up, getting them to run challenges, getting them to communicate and invest in what they want to see to grow their businesses and to move the needle on their climate impact. How do we do this? We do this through our accelerator programs. I've talked about them a little bit already, and that's what we're going to focus on here today. But I do want you to have a broad view of all that Foresight is up to. We run our innovation challenges. That's what I mentioned there in the accelerating adoption. We work with large industrial partners. One example would be Vestas. They make wind turbine blades. We worked with them on finding recyclable solutions for wind turbine blades. So that was one challenge. Another challenge is the one we're running with the Canadian Resource Innovation Network. It's a $25 million challenge around low emission fuels and value added products. If you think that might apply to you, I would highly recommend you check out our website. We do market research. So you can find a number of our research reports on our website. We do this by sector, we do this by region. We work with strategic partnerships, so we develop programming. We're running something currently with aqua hacking in the water sector, and we build clusters. Again, we bring people together. It's going to take a lot of people working across those silos to have the changes that we want to see in terms of our building our economy, as well as the addressing the climate challenges we all face. What makes us think we can do this? This is a big ask, right? This is a tall order, changing the way the economy is run, changing the outcomes for the planet. To date, we've worked with 700 plus companies. We've helped them raise almost $500 million in financing, almost $250 million in company revenue, over $1 billion of economic impact. If you take into account the challenges that we've run, 6,000 people hired to jobs, lots of good stuff there, and we hope to increase those numbers with your help. Again, I talked a little bit about our approach, and I want to dive into that a little bit more. We call it our Helix 5 model, right? Obviously, we started out as a clean tech accelerator working with small and medium enterprises, startups like yourselves, to give you the tools, that acceleration piece. We realized, though, that we needed industry at the table as well. They need to be buying the solutions that you're developing. They need to be ready to innovate and move with you. We also realize that you'll need funding. So investors have to be at the table and part of the communication and hearing your story from an early stage. We need government there. I always like to say the government of Canada is great at supporting early stage ventures through some of their funding programs, but there is still a need for policy and regulatory change to enable business models that will make it all work. And finally, academia. We want to make sure they're part of it so that the many thousands of talented people, the millions of dollars of equipment that they have is there to support those SMEs, to help you improve the products you have, to help you test them and validate them. So those are the 5 groups that we're trying to pull together to really change the way that clean tech is moving in Canada. I would be remiss if I didn't stop and thank our supporters, so Western Economic Diversification Canada, Innovate BC, the RBC Foundation, and NRC IRAP that make all these programs possible. I'll stop for a second. Lots of activity here in the chat. Any good questions popping up here? Mostly people telling where they are. I love the fact that it seems to be really coast to coast and across Canada. Now I'd like to stop and talk about New Life a little bit. I have Jerry Christian here on the line with me. He participated recently, just earlier this year, in the winter 2021 cohort. So I first met Jerry, gosh, was it back in December? Yeah, it would have been around December there. He's commercializing renewable fuels catalysts. He's got entrepreneurial experience before he started this venture. And I'm always interested in how people get into clean tech or where they come from. So Jerry has a Bachelor of Commerce. We see lots of engineers. We see lots of PhD chemists. We see a variety of backgrounds. Less common is the Bachelor of Arts, but I always like to call them out too. But it will take business models. Without further ado, Jerry, do you want to tell us a little bit about New Life?
Good afternoon, Stephen. Can you see me? Oh, fabulous. There we are. All right. A little bit about New Life. You know, you touched on a commerce degree. I'm going to touch on that, a little bit of our story, how we came to this. So a business acquaintance also ran his own business. We sold our businesses approximately about a year apart. And we both had young kids. His daughter was 6 months younger than mine. Anyway, they're going to school together, and we realized we want to get into business. We want to do something together. And we felt, you know what, this clean, green economy was something popular. And this is about 5 years ago. So we started going down that path. And, you know, we take a different approach to it, being both business people and not engineers. So our New Life is led by a couple of business guys who are looking for the business opportunity and the fit. We've got in a great engineering group and team behind us. But we went into it with the approach that if a business model can't be profitable, it's not going to be greatly adopted. It's not going to be leveraged and have large impact. So that's kind of a driving force behind us. In that process, we'll get into what New Life is. In that process, we created technology and patented it that takes basically landfill diverted waste, organic material, recreates bio-crude oil like it was done on the earth, but instead of millions of years, we were about 2 hours. So as we were bringing that forward, the clean fuel standards and low carbon fuel standards weren't really in place yet. So we were struggling getting that traction with refineries and whatnot. They knew they needed it, but they weren't forced to require it. Along the way, we weren't happy. Oxygen's a problem in anything from an organic biomass. We were working on how do we reduce the oxygen. We weren't happy with what was available in market. So we went and created our own oxygen reduction catalyst, worked really well with our oil. Then we realized this could have an impact on a much larger renewable fuel industry. Hence a bit of a pivot over to the catalyst. And let's be honest, it is a extremely complex product. And to try to explain what we do, the actual catalyst, because it's one key part in a very big process.
Gary, thank you so much. It's a really cool technology that you're developing, and renewable fuels are going to be a very important piece if you believe what the IEA or the International Energy Agency says. I want to explore a little bit. You went through the launch and deliver program there back in the winter cohort. What was the most important thing you took from that?
Wow. On the launch side, most important, really, I think the weekly mentor calls. We still have them actually with our mentor when he's not paddleboarding around the islands of BC. And so he helped pull out of us, and he brought to us a wider knowledge base, and said, really, guys, we got to focus more on your ESG impact. It's going to become more and more important. And it really has. We're reading about it all the time now, and you know, investment decisions are being driven by it. So that was on the launch side. You also want to hear the deliver side?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
So the development of our technology roadmap. We use it and we update it every 2 weeks. And it's been a fabulous tool for keeping us focused and helping us stay more on track.
And what do you think the impact has been on your company of participating in Foresight?
It has made us stronger and a more focused company. And through this, so we were recently in, I don't know, what was it, July? We were accepted as one of only 7 companies globally out of 750 applicants to the Repsol, that's a Spanish oil and gas company, to the Repsol Accelerator Fund. It's a 12-month mentorship with technical and piloting and non-dilutive capital. But we were only one of 7 globally, only one from Canada, only 2 of us from North America, and we would not have been accepted without the program of Foresight. And then we were also accepted into the Canadian Trade Accelerator through the Trade Commission. Again, I don't believe that would have occurred without the Foresight program.
Thank you. There's a question from David. What was your initial motivation to participate in Foresight?
Well, there's a little bit. So when COVID hit, you know, the world came to a stop. We thought, oh my God, what do we do? So a few of our team, we did a Cleantech accelerator out of the US, and we didn't know much about them. We just got into this. We thought, great, we're going to learn. And what we realized was that was a fabulous, we'll call it an entry level one. And it really got us ready for when we did Foresight. We were able to leverage a lot of the things that we learned through that one. So I'm not trying to scare anybody. If this is your first one, just strap in, buckle in, put your helmet on and get ready. They're going to make you work, but it's going to be fabulous.
All right. Fantastic, Jerry. Thank you so much for coming today. Thank you for putting on a collared shirt for us. I appreciate that. And with everyone, we try to be so supportive and helpful. I really want to be respectful of Jerry's time because he's busy. He's trying to build a business. And that's the kind of ethos we bring, not just to the folks who have been kind enough to come and share some of their experience with you, but you throughout the course, I think, is something we try to do. We're here to help you. So with that, Jerry, I'll let you get back to it. And thank you so much for popping in.
Thank you so much. Good luck, everyone. You've made a great choice. Congratulations on the first step. Can't wait to hear about all of you coming out the other end. All the best. Ciao. Cheers.
All right. Let me get back to sharing my screen. We're going to dive into the programs now at a kind of high level. I wanted to stop. Somebody asked me a question. What is Cleantech? That's a tough one to define, and I can see why that's a question on your mind. I can tell you how we define Cleantech, and we actually borrow from the Government of Canada's definition, which is essentially anything that gets you more efficiency. So if you can get more output with the same inputs, that's Cleantech. If you can get the same outputs from less inputs, that's Cleantech. Generally, if you have an input on any of 4 areas, which would be GHG emissions, right? Anything that goes into the air, any water, are you doing water purification? Liters of water actually purified or avoided the use of water. Energy efficiency, so any electrons not used or fuel not burned through changes in behavior or technological applications. And finally, material use, right? So waste recovery, anything in waste recycling, material handling, anything in those. Those are 4 broad categories that are very easy to track as Cleantech, but we see a number of other applications that go into that efficiency thinking. Does that kind of help on what Cleantech is? Yeah, okay. At least from our viewpoint. Different people might have different definitions. That's the one we use. We want to work with Cleantech companies. How do we do that? We have 3 streams here. It's the community of innovators. This is the broadest one. This is for everybody who's interested in clean tech. It's free to join. And there's a couple different services we offer there. We do have a monthly newsletter, software solutions. Yes, absolutely. David, you asked if software solutions are clean tech. Yes. If you can reduce the efficiency somebody or the energy somebody uses with software, that's fantastic. There's a company called Ausense based here in Vancouver. They are part of our GROW program. That is exactly what they do. They provide software to utilities to better manage their fleets and reduce the wasted energy. So software absolutely applies. So back to the community of innovators, newsletter, clean tech drinks events, and other industry events, right? We again want to bring folks together. So if there are academics who want to join, don't have a company yet, just want to learn about the clean tech space, get involved with other folks. If there's government people, they can join the community of innovators. Anybody in the Helix 5 group, industry people can join the community of innovators. If they're interested in clean tech, we encourage them to join the community of innovators. There's a low barrier to entry. It's free. The venture community, this is only for clean tech startups. You have to actually have a company now to be in the venture community. A little bit higher bar to entry, $250 a year, but for that, you get access to our affiliate discounts. My favorite one, because it's got the biggest number attached to it, is Amazon Web Services. If you are a software company, if you are going to be using their data services, they will give you up to $100,000 of free computing time if you are a Foresight community member. As well, there's discounts on space down at the Hive. There's discounts on CRM systems from HubSpot. There's 16 different companies in our affiliate discount network that will get you more than that $250 back in your first year if you leverage them. There's discounts on Foresight's workshops and events. If you're not a program member, you can still attend the workshops, and some of the events will be charged. Like we have a Clean Tech Awards every year. If you're a member of the venture community, you will get a discounted rate on those. And finally, there's the monthly Fireside chats. Okay? So we've got our core courses that we run 6 weeks, 4 weeks. We'll get into those a little bit later. We also every month do a little 1-hour webinar on topics that we feel are relevant, that we actually go out to the membership and say, what do you need to learn about? Is it employee stock option plans? Is it how to build your culture? Is it some HR practices? Is it non-dilutive grants, right? Are there some that are popping up that we think everybody should know about? We'll have somebody to come in and talk about how you can be successful with your non-dilutive grants. So that's what we do in the monthly Fireside chat. So there's some more learning. It's very targeted to the interests of startups and ventures that are in that community. The most involved you can be with Foresight, and what I hope a lot of you will take the time to sign up for, is to be a program participant. Here is where our core courses are hosted. There's a monthly fee for being a part of the program, but for that, you do get access to our executives in residence and our mentors. Our executives in residence are typically folks who have been CEOs, CTOs, CFOs of other clean tech startups. They've started and exited businesses, and they're there to share their wisdom with you. I will give you an example of where this came in handy. One of our companies, Dana, they are building an integrated circuit that will make solar rooftop installations more efficient. They needed an analog IC designer, and they talked to their executive in residence who happened to work at PMC Sierra and said, I know the guy. He's based in Frankfurt. Looked up his contacts, gave him the email address, and Udi Down, the CEO of Dana, absolutely raved about it and said that alone was worth everything, that all the time he ever spent, all the money he ever spent, and saved him about 6 months and tens of thousands of dollars off his project because he was introduced to the right consultant to do a job for him. All right. And so that's the value of that executive in residence network. Folks have been working in the industry for 20 plus years, and the contacts and the people they know that they can introduce you to. Maybe it's the right supplier, maybe it's your first investor, maybe it's a customer. Those are the kind of that's the network we want you to have access to. We also have our mentor network. So these are more specialists. They might be an HR specialist, a marketing specialist, legal, IP, accounting, whatever questions you have about running your business, that's where our mentor network can help you with those. So that's sort of the power of being in Foresight's programs. One of the core programs I talked about briefly, there's Kickstart is the first one. So this is really to validate the business idea, right? Work on that problem solution fit. Then there's a launch and deliver program that sort of sits in the middle. The launch program, I usually kind of call CEO training. It's really around that, working on that product market fit, right? Working on everything you need to do on your business model canvas, right? What channels are you going to use to market? How are you going to price it? Who are the key relationships? What are the strategic decisions around your business, right? That's all covered in the launch piece. The deliver piece that Jerry mentioned is all about the technology development roadmap. It's really the CTO's role. A lot of other accelerators focus almost uniquely on the CEO and the job they have to do, but realistically, selling it is one thing, but actually delivering it into the marketplace is another. And so what we saw, we've been around for 8 years, is we saw some companies fail because of CTOs. And it's a hard job. It's got a really poor feedback loop. A lot of times you might have to design a pilot plant and you get the funding for it and you order the parts and you write your testing plan and you design it. And 6 or 8 months later, you're actually building the thing and you're running the tests. And after a year, you get to see the results and talk to customers about them. And if you didn't design the tests right, you didn't design the pilot plant right, it's not going to resonate with your customers and you're not going to get any more investment dollars, either non-dilutive or private equity. And your company is going to fail. So that's really tough to make decisions here you don't know the outcome of until a year later. So you need mentors, you need access to experienced CTOs who've done this before to help you predict what you're going to need at the end. That's really what the Deliver program is about. Our Grow program is those companies that have kind of had that success. They've got $1 million in revenue, they're now scaling up. And so that's where we target that program for those companies to kind of continue that support. I'm going to touch on our learning approach to all of our programs and our workshops. We build them around exercises. You're a startup, you don't have a lot of time, you need to have tactical learning. It's not an academic environment, it's things that you're going to be able to use in your business tomorrow. That's what we build our programs around. For the learning piece of it, right, we don't do lecturing in our discussion modules in a live fashion. We put it all online. We condense it as much as possible so you can digest it quickly at a time that's convenient for you. We provide that EIR support, right? So somebody's going to be helping you along through these lessons. I think of it like a golf club. You can hand someone a golf club. You can tell them how to swing it. They're probably not going to hit the ball very far the first time. So we're going to provide you a coach who's going to help you get the right answer for your business, to think through the things that maybe you can't see, to look at it from an outsider's perspective. And we also incorporate cohort-based learning. So you're going to go through these programs with other people. You will have live discussions. The reason for this is we want you to understand what really good looks like. You might be really strong on your buyer journey map. Somebody else might be really strong on their investor pitch deck. You'll get to learn from others who are at the same stage as you. You'll get to see how they've solved problems in their business. You'll get to build your network of other people at the same stage that you'll be able to ask questions. Who did you go to for your IP law? Now I have to write a sales contract. Who did you use? Hey, I'm now talking to this angel investor. Is he really as easy to work with as he says he is? We want you building that network of folks who can help you answer these questions. That's why we're going to put you together in a cohort with other folks at the same stage. If there are no other questions, I'll just dive into each of those programs a little bit deeper, tell you a little bit more about them. Kickstart, I talked about this. This is where you're going to be starting to validate that business, right? Is there a good problem solution fit? It's a structured program. It's going to guide you through that. And all of our programs, like I said, are built around exercises and tools. This one is really the customer development model, that wonderful book from Lean Startup from Eric Ries, working through that, how it's applied to your business, and the value proposition canvas. In terms of the exercises over the 6 weeks, it is a 6-week course. We're going to help you work on your core purpose. We are a clean tech accelerator. There's a whole group of investors, impact investors, who are looking for clean tech companies. You need to know how to express what you're doing clearly so that it aligns with them. Working obviously on your value proposition, where it starts, how to do good customer discovery, how to articulate what you do in a positioning statement so you can gain that interest, looking at what your market size is so you can communicate clearly and evaluate what your best opportunities are. And finally, what is your MVP, your minimum viable product? What is that going to need to look like to get you to the next stage? The launch program starts to build on that a little bit more. Here, you've identified that marketplace and you're going to start looking a lot broader at other pieces of the business, not just the customer and your value proposition, but how you're going to get it to them, right? The entire business model canvas, if you're familiar with that, has 9 boxes. The value proposition, the customer, are only 2 of them, right? What are your key activities? What are your key resources? What do you need to protect? What's going to be different about you? What's your unique selling proposition? What's your unique value proposition? What moat can you build to add value to your business? We also look at the company maturity levels. So this is a concept. Your business is more than one product, right? It includes your team. It includes your scale and your market and your exit strategy, right? So looking at your business the way an investor would look at it, the way how are you maturing your business with your activities, right? You're not just doing activities, you're looking at where you're weak and where you need to move forward to grow enterprise value. Again, in the launch program, because some of you might be jumping into that, we look at the core purpose, we look at the business model, we talk about customer discovery because you can't do that enough. It's such a challenging skill to do well. We will repeat the things that are really important. Positioning statement will work on goals. How can you drive your business forward now that it's maturing a little bit more? And finally, help you develop an investor pitch because it will wrap up the rest of these ideas and help you articulate it. Armin asks, is there a deadline to apply for the Kickstart program's next cohort? Our next cohort is in the fall. I'll jump ahead a little bit. The application deadline is August 20th. That's this Friday. I'm sure somebody will drop the link in the chat shortly. The Deliver program, talked about this a little bit already. This is really CTO training. Now, sometimes your company might have a CEO and a CTO, and you might each take the 2 different courses. Sometimes you could be a sole founder and you might be taking the CEO course and the CTO course. That's okay too. What it is the skills that somebody in your company needs to have. And it's the things somebody in your company needs to be thinking about. We look at the technology readiness level. So where you are today and where you need to go, and then how you're going to get there, right? So what IP are you going to be developing? What resources, either inside of your team or as third-party contractors, will you need to bring in? What is the budget going to look like? And building a technology development roadmap. So not only what are these pieces for your minimum viable product, but your first product release, and maybe even your second product release. And giving the CTO the tools to ask questions to the marketing department, why should we prioritize this development? Why should we move this feature set forward? Does it satisfy a big enough market? And exactly what is the cost of doing that? Right? What are we sacrificing by putting some other development later? What is the cost in terms of team? And we finish that up with a gate review presentation because, again, we find that's a nice way to capture all of those pieces of your plan and practice articulating them. The CTO is a communicator's role. You have to take things from the marketing department, communicate them into a technical team. You have to be able to communicate with the board. You have to be able to communicate with the CEO and customers, right? So we need you to practice those communication skills if you want to be a really successful CTO of a growing, scaling company. I want to stop now and actually mention in this fall cohort I just talked about, application deadline on the 20th, we've got 2 sector-specific streams. The first one is going to be Water Next. The second one is going to be Energy Next, okay? And so what are we doing in these sector-specific streams? We're going to have 6 extra sessions specific around the water industry. They're going to end off with an industry pitch. So whereas generally our launch program ends with a demo day, here we're going to have industry-specific pitches. We're going to bring in those folks to give feedback. Along the way, though, we're also going to be touching on reverse pitches, so bringing in large industrial players and them telling you what it is that they're looking for and getting you the chance to connect and talk to some of them. engineering partners and value chain partners who can help you get your solution into the market, as well as other experts on research in the space. And so 6 sessions designed to help plug you into the water space, get to build out your networks and your contacts, and learn about how you're going to navigate this. This is open to folks who are participating in the Kickstart or the launch program. There'll be the Water Next sessions, and then as well, Energy Next. So our Energy Next specific sessions are actually run in partnership with our friends at Unique, who are based down in Houston. If you are selling into the energy sector, we here at Foresight feel we've got some very good contacts in the Calgary market, and with our friends at Unique plugging us into Houston, I think you've got a very good access to a global network of companies to commercialize your solution. And again, there'll be 6 different sessions from water all around the energy sector, different players, different industrial partners, different engineering and sales partners that might be able to help you navigate that. All right, moving on to grow. If there's anybody here with a couple $1 million in sales, this will be very applicable. If not, it's just nice to know that this program exists, right? The reason we expanded this program is we've been fortunate enough to work with some really passionate, hardworking, smart founders who got that first big sale, who landed that $1 million investment. And they pop the champagne bottles and they say, woohoo, we've made it. And then they woke up the next morning and realized now they're expected to get 10 big sales. And the next round has to be 10 to $20 million. And so the challenges don't stop, they just change, right? They, you know, before it was, how can I get 1 or 2 interns to get this pilot across the board, across the line? And now it's, how do I hire 10 and 15 and 20 people and manage them effectively? And so that's what we've geared the Grow program to help those companies with. It's a little bit more custom, it's a little bit more flexible than our other programs. One of the pieces is a CXO peer roundtable. So we've got roundtables for CEOs, CTOs, and one for COO, CFOs, right? So the CEOs might be talking about which kind of investment, whether it's Breakthrough Energies or Pangea Ventures or wherever they're going to raise the next money. The CTOs might be talking about how to navigate large non-dilutive granting applications with different government agencies, how to work with foreign governments around that. And COOs and CFOs might be talking about HR policies. We want to put them in a room with people where they can benchmark best practices, build a network of support that they need to execute their jobs at the highest possible level. We also add in extra supports and resources from our EIR network. And then we've also got the 4 pillars. This is produced by the Growth faculty. And it's very similar to Rockefeller Habits or the Entrepreneur Operating System or Metronomics, if you're familiar with any of those. And it's essentially a guidebook on how to grow a company while maintaining clarity and cohesion. The #1 story I like from entrepreneurs is they say, every new person I hire, I have to do more work. It's more stress on me. I say, aha, I have something that can help you with that. It's supposed to go the other way around, right? You're supposed to hire more people and take work off of your plate. And that's what that 4 pillars really helps you do. If you can communicate throughout your organization what everyone is supposed to do, and it empowers them to make decisions and not ask you constantly over email or Slack what it is they should be doing. So that's some of the training we provide in that Grow program. And I'll dive into a couple workshops. So in between the programs, right, we've got, those are what we feel you need to know for your stage of business. But there's always other things, right? We can't teach you everything in 6 weeks. But if you're raising a round of funding, we've got our Investor Readiness Training Program. This is free to all BC companies and all Foresight member companies. We're running it in September, November, January, and March. We'll probably not keep up that kind of cadence into the spring and summer, but we will run it multiple times a year because we know that this is a valuable topic and we want you to be prepared to go out and do this correctly, to do this well, to make it as easy on yourself as possible. But again, if you're not raising money right now, don't take the time. Take the time to focus on what's important right now. Maybe it's doing the technical development. Maybe it's executing that first pilot program, right? But when it's appropriate for you, jump in and take the workshops that will help you if you can see 3 to 6 months out what you'll need to do. In the past year, we've run workshops on governance, right? How to set up your board, especially if you're going to take in money, always a good topic to understand. Sales and marketing, actually marketing and business, marketing and branding, and sales and business development. Those were 2 separate workshops, right? So we're trying to cover off, we've run workshops around human resources as well. So how to hire effectively. So all these workshops will be running throughout the year to kind of help you as you need it. If you're not hiring people, don't maybe spend the time on an HR workshop, right? But when the time comes, you'll want to know that you're doing that effectively and well. And these are open to everybody in your organization, right? If you're not going to be the HR manager, you can send somebody else from your organization. If you've got a CFO who's in charge of raising the money, they can take this, right? Foresight is here to help your organization as a whole, not just you as a CEO or a founder. We also have our pilot workshop. This is actually going to be launching this fall. It's the first time we've run it. We're really excited. If you like those technology readiness levels, it's to help folks who get stuck at TRL 6 or have reached TRL 6 get to TRL 7, which is in the field, right? So it's not, I've got a pilot plant designed. It's now operating at a customer's site. That's our goal. And even better than that, we really want paid pilots. We want to show that your customer really cares about your solution and is willing to pay to get it onto their site. So that's what that 4-week workshop is all about, right? How you talk about your pilot, how you interact with them, how you sell and develop different value propositions to work with different parts of that organization. So taking some of the things you develop and launch and just really putting it into that pilot presentation. So that'll be coming out this fall as well. But what are the next steps? It's really up to you. If you're interested in any of those programs, the Community of Innovators, the Venture Community, or any of our programs, please go to foresightcac.com and fill out your application. If you're applying to be a program participant, we will schedule a meeting with a panel of our executives and residents. 3 of them will be there to ask you questions about your business, to try to assess what your challenges are, where the best fit in that stream is. What are the challenges we need to help you overcome right now? Again, we're here to help you. So it could be the launch program, it could be the deliver program, it could be the Kickstart program. They all come with that executive and resident support that really tailor the course content to you and your business and make it personal. We have, again, over 90 executives and residents and mentors, so folks who have a software background, people who are mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, chemical engineers. We have folks who are CEOs and CFOs who can help you overcome the challenges, who have worked in ag, who have worked in mining and oil and gas and the power sector and the built environment. And they will understand what it is your business is trying to do and know people that they can help connect you with. The application deadline is this Friday, August 20th, for our fall cohorts. If for any reason you don't think you can commit this fall, we again will be running them in the spring, but I think every minute, every day to an entrepreneur and a small startup is precious. So I want you making the right decisions, taking the right steps as soon as possible. So I'd love to see you all apply to the fall cohort. We'll, with that, I'm assuming my colleagues have put in the chat some links where you can apply. There we go. Astrid, thank you very much. You read my mind. With that, right on time, 20 minutes left for your questions. Adam says, building code help. Yes, depending what kind of code, we have a few people who specialize in software design. We've got a data scientist with a PhD who's got a ton of consulting background as well, if it happens to
be mean like the national building code, like building homes and things. I'm actually a software developer, so the building code is the easy part for me. That building code. No, we're just there are some challenges around legal egress, enclosing homes and domes, and we need to work through those. So it's greatly helpful.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of any, but I can certainly, we often will source out mentors. The beautiful thing about Foresight is that everybody wants to support the clean tech ecosystem. So we can go out and find experts if we don't have somebody in our current talent pool to help solve some of those challenges. Denis or Dennis, depending how you like that pronounced.
Either one works.
Right. Do you work closely with IRAP? Yes, the National Research Council Industrial Research Assistance Program is a supporter of our programs. We work closely with the Cleantech team on a national level. So do we have their IRAP tech advisors in-house? No, we have our own tech advisors because they give away their ITAs services already through their programs. We have separate folks who support and complement the advice that they give. Quick show of hands. Who here has an ITA assigned to their company? The Industrial Technology Advisor from the IRAP program. No? Yes? Zach? Okay. AI shading, great. That's 1. 2, Lawrence, okay. I'll give this one away for free. Oh, there we go. Alec, you also have one. Call up NRC IRAP. If you don't know, I'll give you my email at the end. I'll put you in touch with somebody. You should have an ITA for your business. Because not only does the NRC IRAP fund certain research projects, and not only do the ITAs, are they all experienced people from industry who will give you free advice, which I think Denis alluded to, but they're also a great gateway to the rest of the government ecosystem. So the first thing that Sustainable Development Technology Canada, SDTC, will ask if you apply them for money is, does NRC IRAP know about you? And what is their view? Have they funded a project, right? So getting an NRC IRAP funded project that successfully completes will help with all the other applications that you make, right? You want to be known to them because other people will ask because they've got the largest staff and they're expected to know all of the really cool technology companies in Canada. So help them out, let them know you're here. There's my most important free tip advice. Plus, did I mention they give away money? They are a funding part, like they give away money to research projects. Call them up, find out what you're doing that might qualify. And it's not a guarantee. It's not all projects. Don't be like Steve said, you would definitely give me money, but at least talk to them about it. Find out when the application deadlines are, what the qualifications are. And again, they'll give you free advice. My colleague, David Sanguinetti, who teaches our Deliver program, he's been a CTO at 3 different companies, tells a great story where he was flying from Vancouver to Hamilton to go tour a factory. And his ITA here in Vancouver called up somebody in Hamilton and say, hey, here's a guy who's working the water treatment space. Here's his problem. Can you make some introductions for him? He landed in Hamilton. This is back when you got to travel around the country. So, you know, let's not be too jealous. I'm sure they do it by Zoom now. That person in Hamilton called him up and said, I hear you're in town. Here's a few other people you should meet. And here's some things you should do. And it was really valuable. The person knew the whole backstory of his company, gave him really valuable insight, resources, and connections that helped that company solve the challenge that they were currently facing in building their first pilot plant. All that to say, go get yourself an ITA. What's the cost of the Kickstart program, please? $100 a month. Jim would be applying for a segment of my business only, one which is particularly relevant to clean tech adoption. Is this possible? Jim, that sounds like a detailed question I'd love to take offline with you. In some cases, yes, it depends. We've worked with a number of service companies who are building a product, so they don't stop being a successful, profitable service company while they try to build a clean tech product. We've worked with entrepreneurs, so folks who are inside of another company and building a new business unit. As long as you have some freedom or that particular project has some freedom to operate as a separate entity, a lot of the challenges are the same, except instead of usually going to outside investors and say, hey, I need $1 million to move this thing forward, you go to the CFO of your existing company and say, hey, I need $1 million to move this thing forward. And they still ask you, how is it going to make me money? So Jim, a lot of times I'll say yes, but let's chat offline to discuss your specific situation. Do startups need third-party validation for technology readiness levels? Lucy, a fantastic question. Depends on for who you're trying to benefit. If you were using it to talk to NRC IRAP, right, because they fund projects in certain TRL levels, that's why we think it's really possible. Important to know that terminology and what makes it up. They don't audit you, is my understanding, right? They ask you questions to make sure that you understand the scale and to try to appropriately put you there, but nobody will perform third-party validation on you. Generally, for most funding agencies, and mostly it's determined through questions for other folks of where you're really at. So TRL levels are interesting to know. They are hugely beneficial in assessing where you really are. A lot of times folks will say that they're further along and realize that they've sort of maybe missed a step of validating, or in sometimes, and I don't want to pick on the software people here, documenting what they did, right? If there's no documentation, it's sometimes hard to move along those TRL levels, right? But you want to move quickly, you just want to fix a problem. But if there's no documentation, it's sometimes hard to say you're as far along as you would like to be. I wish we were all commercial, but that's not the case. Can we get some info on the Foresight team members on this call? David, we can if you like. My name is Steve Wilson. I'm the VP of Acceleration. My background, I started 15 years ago with some electrical engineers who wanted to build power supplies for LED lighting. We're going to save terawatts of energy. We raised some money, we did that whole route, and I fell in love with the startup life. And then that's what I did. I worked mostly in the built environment, a little bit in industrial backup power, always with the electrical engineers because I'm a glutton for punishment, until the opportunity came to work with Foresight. And now instead of working with one passionate founding team, I get to work with a whole bunch at a time. And I've also been exposed to the error of my ways. Chemical engineers are also wonderful people, and we should work with them too. Amanda, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Amanda. I'm the program manager for the Prairie provinces. Here for Foresight, we have another program manager, Tony Dollywall, who focuses on the BC and Atlantic provinces. I oversee the Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba-based companies. And consider me your boots on the ground here. If you have any questions on the programming, feel free to reach out to me. I worked previously with the Alberta Clean Technology Industry Alliance, where I started to kind of get into this clean tech startup scene in Alberta, and I just wanted to learn more and work more closely with them. So here I am with Foresight.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Astrid, I guess we've given ourselves away by all having logos in the same background, so I can't really not ask you.
Yeah, I'll remain off camera for the moment since this is being recorded. But this is Astrid Nunez. I oversee marketing and events here at Foresight, and I've been with the company for 2.5 years. I come with a background of marketing, events, program management, communications in the corporate world. So it's been quite interesting to support the thriving clean tech ecosystem. It's so great to see what like a world-changing idea can do. I've been following along with a few of the ventures, and it's great to be here and supporting as well.
Lee, do you want to say a quick hello?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Lee. I'm the events coordinator, and I'm here mainly to support the marketing communications team, as well as Astrid on any events and coordination. So hopefully in the future, you'll see an email from me.
Fantastic. And last but not least, Andrea, I see you're on the call here.
Yes, I'm here. I'm actually here as a spectator because anytime I can watch Stephen do his thing is a time I'm going to take. He's very good at this, huh? But specifically, I am the lead of Agrinex, which is an initiative we are currently developing to support ag tech companies specifically. I'm happy to see Nurture Growth Bio here, Li Long. I'm familiar with you from Ontario Agri-Food Technologies, actually, which is where I started my journey a few years ago. But we are developing this initiative to support ag tech companies through ecosystem building, events, and acceleration. And so anybody in ag tech specifically, I'd love to be in touch with you to learn more and talk more about that.
And these are just some of the people. I think there's 28 full-time staff at Foresight working to grow the Cleantech ecosystem. Amanda mentioned Tony Dollywall. We also have Tyler Maximue on our acceleration team. I think there's 5 people in our marketing department waiting to help you get your story out. When you have a great press release, when you have something to post on social, let us know, and we will push it out to our 2,000 followers. We are always looking for great stories. If you look back on some of our postings over the last year, we've highlighted pretty much once a month a great clean tech company, a great story. So if you are about to have some fantastic milestone in your business, reach out to our marketing team and see where they can highlight you. Should it be right after your milestone is announced, or should it be in the lead up to that milestone? And you're starting to build a little bit of news and a little bit of buzz about your company and getting more people looking at you before you just tell them this wonderful thing has just happened, that your pilot just was proven 100% successful and actually was 110% efficient somehow. Whatever the case may be, right? We've got a team of people here to help you, both on the acceleration side. So getting those mentors and executives in residence, developing those programs, delivering those programs for you that will give you what you need to know in a timely fashion, as well as the marketing department telling your story, which is the story of Canadian clean tech. Alec has a question about, he's part of the Agrinex network. Does he have to be part of Kickstart to launch to participate in those 6 sessions? No. If you are just a part of the Agrinex initiative, you can participate in those sessions without taking our Kickstart or launch program. But Alec, I would love to know more about your business and see if we can help you in some other way as well. Other questions?
Yeah, I posted it way up there. Jim Style here.
Like I say, Jim, I have trouble talking and reading at the same time. So just go ahead, jump in. Tell me what your question is.
So I own a company that does things with lithium batteries. And there's a part of my company that is in which I'm proposing the installation of solar plus batteries as a replacement for gasoline powered machinery. And so is that a fit for Energy Next?
Yes, there are a number of categories to Energy Next, and the energy transition and renewable and storage is something that a number of those energy company partners are looking at. So I think that that would be beneficial for you to participate in some of those conversations.
Okay, and I reached out to Amanda. Her and I'll have that conversation.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Adam,
thanks.
you asked if there a limit to EIR time available for cohort participant. There is. Unfortunately, we are a not-for-profit. Maybe luckily we're not-for-profit. I'm not sure which, but we are not-for-profit. We do have limited funding. And essentially the EIR time is allotted in a way that allows them to help you with strategic guidance. So in the launch program, for instance, it's 6 hours a month for your launch EIR. And the deliver EIR, executive in residence, is 15 hours total for that course. So about 6 hours a month, you sort of have to think of it. If they're going to meet with you once a week for an hour, that gives them 2 hours to write some emails, make some introductions, do some research, help you on some other pieces, prep for those meetings by maybe checking out your investor deck or checking out your value proposition canvas or some other piece of activity. But they don't have the time to dive in and do things for you, right? So they can't, they might sit with you on a customer discovery call to see if you're getting that right, but they probably don't have time to make the 50 calls for you, right? So it's supposed to be strategic. Are you doing the right things? Are you doing them well? What problems are you missing? How can you solve them? Not so much on the tactical level. So unfortunately, that's a limitation. We are coming up to an election. If you would like to write your future MP and let them know that you think you need more accelerator time, maybe that should be part of some people's platforms. Just not trying to influence the outcome. Whoever wins, they should just fund clean tech development. That's all I'm saying. Does that kind of answer that?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, perfect.
That question. And I mean, the other thing is that might vary over time. Some companies stay with us in the launch program for a number of time. Clean technology does take a while to develop and commercialize. We've seen, projects where the pilot takes a year from installation through to actually finally being accepted. So we don't want to adopt that baby bird model of the launch program. We kind of kick people out, see if they can fly too early. And so it can fluctuate. You know, you will have busier times where maybe you're trying to raise a seed round and you need a little bit more support. And sometimes where, you know, you need a little bit less support because you're just running on some good advice and executing that pilot project, or, you know, in the lab and building something to make it work, or, you know, it will fluctuate over time. And we do respect that needs vary and try to work with you on that. Again, we're here to try to help you as much as we possibly can. Zach, would there be grant funding for participating in the programs such as digital traction from Alberta Innovate? Zach, unfortunately, no. We do not we are not a granting agency. We don't give funding. We are a nominating partner for SDTC Seed Fund, but we do not directly give out any money ourselves. So we give out great advice that will help you get the money you need, be it, you know, non-dilutive or dilutive funding, but we ourselves are just advice. Armin has a question, which is...
Oh, okay, so thanks. Yeah, so just a quick question following up on what Jim mentioned about coordination of solar units and storage systems. I actually developed a technology from my doctorate program, which is about operation of microgrids and this kind of coordination. Can you please just repeat the name of the program that you mentioned and like the group of people who are working on renewables, so I can write it down? And
so the Agrinex stream has an interest, and a number of those corporate partners that will be participating have an interest in renewables.
oh, okay, I see. So it means that we can like directly reach out to them as well. Would that be a possibility, or?
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of why we're going to be running those events is so that you can network, so that you can meet some partners, so that you can listen to some conversations and see who are the folks that you should be reaching out to after those webinars. Again, that little cohort, we're expecting to have about 10 people. So all of those webinars will be quite intimate, and you will get a chance to talk to all the folks that participate in those calls.
Sounds great. Thank you.
My pleasure. And with that, I think we have a link about more info on Agrinex. Again, if there are no further questions, I've taken up surprisingly an hour of your lives that I hope you feel went quite quickly. It did for me, because I love talking about this. What I love more is helping the individual companies through our programs, seeing the progress that we can help you make. I hope that I can build a story for you like New Life's, where you're accepted into other great accelerators like the Repsol Foundation, which is, I think there's actually $100,000 funding with that particular one. But like Jerry said, so much of the development being accepted into the Trade Commissioner Services CTA for their space, you know, lots of great developments on their front, and we help a lot of companies move forward. You can check for some of the announcements on funding. If you look at Emission Reductions Alberta recent funding of Synergraze and their $15 million projects, Stereo Solutions and a $5 million project. Lots of great companies we worked with in this year alone. And of course, some companies we've worked with like Clear, who had their Series B for $27 million. Loop Energy, we worked with in our Grow program, IPO'd and raised $100 million earlier this year. We've worked with some fantastic clean tech companies, and we hope we can help you see the success that they had. If there's any other questions, feel free to email me. My email address, I'll put it in here really quickly, swilson@foresightcac.com.